Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Daily Word. Having some issues with my camera again today, but I think I might finally have it figured out. So hopefully you all are able to see me this morning as we continue our time together on this Daily Word. Today is Daily Word number 662. So as always, I'm thankful that you carve out time to be with me as we share these conversations daily together and how important Scripture is to us. Sounds like we're headed for a winter storm. I hope not, but it sounds like it might be our second one this week. So if so, stay safe. And especially tonight and tomorrow, it sounds like. So anyway, thanks for being with me as we continue our journey together. Please say good morning when you log in. So I've chosen from our scripture for this morning from Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 6. And we hear these words. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, in prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Have you ever been told by anyone to just be reasonable? I have. Jim, just be reasonable. Don't expect such big things. Just be reasonable. Don't expect me to act in a certain way or respond in a certain way. Just be reasonable. You know, if you ever had to negotiate for a house or a car or something you're buying at an auction, you have in mind probably what's reasonable, what the expectations are, what's reasonable. And then you have to decide in the midst of those negotiations what really is reasonable, what sits with me. Now, all of those things aside, Paul gives us an interesting way that we're called to live. And he says, let your reasonableness be known to everyone. Now, as Paul writes this letter, he's trying to settle a dispute between two women who he loved. He wanted them to stop disputing, stop arguing, and to come together in unity. And he reminds them and he reminds us that no matter what happens, no matter what we fear, no matter what's in our path of our journey, God is always God. Nothing happens, no matter what happens. Nothing happens without the fact that God is always God. Now, when we lose control, when we're not always in control, when we sometimes demand a particular outcome, we like to stand firm. We like to, steel our chin against the wind and be strong in that conversation. But Paul reminds us that we can petition God for situations, for answers to prayer, for guidance in our lives. And to know that God's available, it's an amazing thing to remember that God is God and God is always at hand. And so we are implored by the Apostle Paul in this scripture to let reasonableness be the controlling factor in our lives. Be reasonable. Let your reasonableness be known to others. Wouldn't that be interesting if we lived our lives in such a way that when we walked away from a situation, walked away from a conversation, walked away from even a confrontation, that when we walked away, when we got all done, that someone said of me or said of you, boy, Jim was sure reasonable in this conversation. Jim was sure reasonable in this dispute that we had. You see, Paul reminds us that we really don't need to quarrel. We can strive for good things, but the results of that striving can be held loosely. We can lay our fears at the feet of God and know that God is God and that we can be reasonable in our demands. I wonder sometimes as we live our lives with each other, as we struggle with relationships, as we struggle in our world with the divisions of politics and whose side we're going to take and who's on our side even. If in all of that, not meaning you have to give up what you think is right on either side of the political spectrum, but if we were to be reasonable with each other, let your reasonableness be known to everyone. How would we change our words? How would we change what we post on social media? How would we change our interaction with each other? Would we stop what we're about to type on social media or in an email? Would we pause before we said the next word or several words to someone? Would we look at a situation and before we reacted, would we stop and pause and react differently if we let reasonableness, our reasonableness, be known to everyone? I think that's a question that we need to wrestle with in our life's journey, in our faith journey. Are we being reasonable? Are we being reasonable with each other? Are the demands we place on each other reasonable? Are the words that we say, the words that we type, the things that we post, the pictures, the memes that we post, the emails that we send, the confrontation in the store, are we being reasonable? And what if we used that word reasonableness, reasonable, and placed it in our faith journey? What would it mean to be reasonable? It would mean to be loving. It would mean to be kind. It would mean to be full of grace and mercy and peace, would it not? And if we were to live our lives in that way, in such a way that our reasonableness was known to everyone, as Paul implores us. Boy, if you and I were reasonable with each other and that reasonableness spread out, what a difference we would make in the world. And I want that for us, and I hope that we can strive for that as part of our daily faith journey. So, that's the word. Maybe the word reasonableness will stick with you in this day. So, that's our word for today. Sorry I was a few minutes late, but know of God's love and God's mercy and God's grace that surrounds you. Know of my love for you in these days, and stay safe and stay warm. Have a great day.